Hi, it's Diane Hayworth with another episode of Heart-Centered Success. I am really excited today because we're going to talk about one of my very favorite topics, inspiration. And I am really inspired by the ladies that are joining me today. Let me introduce you to them. Over here is Bridget Bishop. Bridget is a life and health coach. She's with True Rose Coaching, and you're going to be a brand new author soon. Tell us the name of your book, Bridget.
Yes, it's called The Empty Nest Companion.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Bridget and I have known each other for over 25 years, and she's inspired me many, many times. I was thrilled that she was able to be here today. Somebody else I'm really thrilled to have and welcome today is Joan Jackson. Joan is a divorce coach, and boy, could I have used you once or twice in my life. You're also an author, and tell us the name of your book.
The Playbook of Life.
Oh, The Playbook of Life. Now, who couldn't use that? Like, for real.
Right.
Seriously,
Yes.
I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you.
And Liz Schiavone is here. Liz is with the Council of Catholic Women, Providence Director. Liz, I am thrilled that you're here today. You are somebody, you and I have spoken many times, and all of you ladies, these are just a wonderful panel, and I hope that you guys have your pens and pencils out because you're going to want to take notes. Now, when we're talking about inspiration today, I just wanted to let you know that obviously people can be inspired by art and poetry and beautiful books and nature. That's not exactly what we're going to talk about today. My goal is always for you to have tools and techniques that you can immediately put into your life. So we're going to talk about inspiration today from the perspective of who's inspired us. What traits, what virtues did they have that was inspirational? How can we carry that into our own lives? I also wanted to mention that we might use the term influence. Now, we're filming this right outside of Washington, D.C., and sometimes that influence term is a little scary. It's not at all. The contents that we're using this context rather, is when someone is influential or inspirational. It means there's been information, resources, there's been some action that has inspired others to make their lives better. That's very different than manipulation, which would be, I will get you to do something because it's going to benefit me. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about inspiration and influence in its very purest form. So I hope I was clear with that. And we're going to start right now. Bridget, let me ask you.
Sure.
Tell me, who has been really inspirational in your life, and why was that?
I can tell you, Diane, that the most inspirational person in my entire life was my mother. And one of the greatest gifts that she ever gave me was the truest gift of compassion. My mother had 6 children, and I can tell you, wherever she went, she brought love, she brought her own inspiration. Even going to the store or going to get her car fixed or going to get her nails done, she would always bring a gift to whomever she was going to go visit. So if it was the car, she would bring a dozen donuts to anyone working on the car. So she always brought that love and compassion wherever she went. So I would say it would be my mother, Julie Rose.
So now I want to be real clear, and let's just tease this out a little bit more. So compassionate, sounds like she was also very giving. And in what other ways did that compassion come through?
Right, it came in so many ways, especially with the children, but mostly what she did was her entire life was devoted to service.
Oh, there we go.
And what she did was she volunteered everywhere.
Wow.
And that spirit of volunteering is something that impacted me in such a major way. And my precious mom passed away 5 years ago, and one of the things that I wanted to do was to honor her in a way that would be inspirational for others that had been touched by her. So on the year of her birthday, every year, we do what's called Dooley Day. And we have acts of kindness and compassion where we go out and people throughout the entire country help me, and they do acts of service on that day. And they'll do anything from helping the homeless We do food distribution for people who don't have food. I've had someone volunteering on a suicide hotline. My own daughter has called shut-ins, so my other daughters worked with her children on Dooley Day. So it's been a tremendous way to pass that love along, and it's that ripple in the water that helps others to know that the life that you've lived is not just with you. It impacts your children, it impacts your friends, it impacts your family, and those are things that I will take with me forever. And you know, my prayer is that I can do the same thing for others.
So now let's look at that. I love that idea, don't you all? Yes. You have someone who does a loving, kind act. Your mother's passed. She has no idea there's a Dooley Day.
Right.
And here, that love and compassion is still making a positive impact on the world. Now, your children, your grandchildren now are going to grow up with this sort of, it's not an expectation, but an example of service to others.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. How cool is that? How cool is that? John, what about you? Who somebody has really inspired you, and how, and kind of what traits or virtues did that person, what exactly did they do to inspire you? I'll get it out one way or another. There you go.
Well, I have two people, but I'm gonna talk more about, I have my mom, which is very inspiring, and she soon passed away. But my sister has been my inspiration.
Wow, why?
She has such a discerning spirit about her.
I love that word, discerning.
But to be funny about it, she actually, she throws up the warning signs for me. She does.
She says, watch out, girl.
Yes.
Oh,
and she has been speaking in my life ever since I was a child. And she always just spoke truth. And when the minute she get quiet, that means she's like thinking on whether I'm gonna hurt her feelings or how is she gonna take this. But when I look back at it, just recently, I look back on all the things she said to me, and they all came to, they all manifested in a way where it helped me in so many different ways in my life, especially my divorce.
Well, which certainly inspired you in what you do.
Yes.
So now what I'm hearing too is that this is it's almost a different flavor of inspiration. So certainly support, but she might have been telling you sometimes things you might not wanted to hear, but she did it from a truthful, loving place. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
And when she would speak it to me, somehow it would penetrate in my spirit. And just recently she said something to me. I was in Cincinnati. That's where she lives. And I carried it home, and I thought about it, and I was like, that's it. This is what I need to do. So and I thought, when you asked me that question before, it's her, because she speaks so much life into me. Wow. And when she speaks it, if it don't happen now, it will happen later. And it's always something that she's basically guiding me to that point, and then I'll come up with the decision or know the truth about it.
So truth, support.
Yes.
Now I'm really curious about something you said. She helped you through your divorce.
She absolutely
And now
did.
You're a divorce coach. So what did you learn from her that you now use with your own clients? I'm just curious.
Laughter and truth.
Yep.
I mean, it's
You gotta laugh about it, don't you?
You gotta laugh about it. And the main thing with her was keep moving.
Don't be stuck in your grief. Don't be stuck in your sadness.
Get up now and keep moving. I remember having a dream. I lived in California, she lived in Ohio, and I had a dream that she was dragging me up this mountain. And it was like, okay, why? I woke up the next morning, I was like, why is she dragging me up? Because she basically was telling me, we moving, but we moving forward. And I'm gonna drag you.
You're not gonna fall down that mountain. I'm gonna drag you up the mountain.
Yes. So, so that's she was my inspiration. I mean, and she still is. It's like recently I just talked to her and ran some decisions past her, and She was just straightforward with it. She got quiet for a minute. I called my brother. I said, when she get quiet, she don't really want to tell you the truth. He said, call her back. So I called her back, and she just laid it out, and I was like, that's it. You know, so she's been inspiring me in a very positive way since I can remember, actually, since I'm like 5 years old.
So it sounds like there's a consistency piece as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've
Absolutely.
come up with some of the people who've inspired us: loving, compassionate, giving, service, tell the truth, very supportive, mentoring. They drag us where we want to go or where we don't know we want to go,
Right.
but they're always there with us to support
Yes.
us.
Absolutely.
How great is that?
Yes.
Liz, tell me who's been an inspiration to you and why?
Well, first of all, of course, my parents, but my grandmother. So my grandmother lived with us, and when we used to come home from school, all my friends would end up at our house. So she was very loving, but also she opened her home, like we're supposed to serve others.
Right.
And what I think about it is, and it was really interesting when I thought about this, because we've had 7 different people live in our home,
Okay.
friends, for various reasons.
Right.
And I think I got that, and we got it from my grandmother, because you are supposed to love others, but you're also supposed to serve them and you know, welcome the stranger or welcome your friends.
Wow.
And I really think I got that from her. She'd make us food, you know, in forms of food, but she was also people. I remember when she died in 1980, all my friends from across the country, everybody called. People tried to get up here. I was down in Atlanta all the time. I came up, obviously, for the funeral, but people tried to get back, because I don't think she just influenced me. I think she also inspired my friends.
Like Bridget was saying. What kind of things did your friends say about your grandmother?
Oh, they just remember how kind she was, you know, and the fact that we go and hang out with her, and she would, but she also was strong. And
Right.
she had moved from Atlanta herself up here to be a yeomanette, is what they called them. They used to be a yeoman, World War II. And she actually was like assistant to assistant, all these great names under FDR. And I actually have a little thing where he wrote her happy birthday. But I think it's just because she was so giving. She, you know, she was such a giving person, and she'd listen to what was going on, and that's key in high school. So if she heard something, she'd try to help us all and give us good advice.
Wow. Wow.
But she would never, ever judge you. She was just trying to help everybody. And that's what they all felt the same way. They all felt that they did they were more on track, I guess is a better
Right.
way to say it, that she really did help them keep on track. You know, because they were at my house
All the time.
all the time.
So you said something really interesting too, that they didn't feel judged.
Yes.
They did not feel judged. That, to me, that's so important, to feel safe.
Yes.
I know for me, it was my dad was somebody that was really influential. I always felt safe around my dad. I was just fascinated. He was an entrepreneur, and I just was fascinated by how he talked to people and how he did deals and how he set things in motion and how he had long range plans and how he took care of the family. It was just fascinating to me. So there was a steady influence. It was steady, it was safe. That was something that was really important to me. I just always felt that we were going to be taken care of. One way or another. I mean, we weren't flying around on fancy private planes or anything, but you know, we had something in our little belly before we went to sleep, and
Right.
that was just, you just knew Daddy was going to take care of things. So I just think it's fascinating when we're talking about the kinds of ways people are influential. So now let me ask this a different way. We all talked about a person that was influential, that was literally in our lives. What about somebody that you knew from afar? So, for example, for me, Louise Hay is someone that was so influential. She just passed August 2017. I loved the fact that she had had major health issues that she lived through. She had been divorced, was not her choice. She lived through all of those things and didn't even start Hay House until she was 60 years old. She's been real inspirational, especially probably at my age now, because she never stopped learning. She never thought about her age. She never let society define her as 60, 70, 80. She was in her early 90s when she passed. She was learning ballroom dancing and taking art classes. When society would say it's time for you to, just sit back, that wasn't in her mindset. To me, that's so inspiring. What other kinds of, and Oprah too, don't even get me started, okay? You had said that your grandmother was a good listener. That I have heard over and over and over again, that Oprah is such a wonderful listener. Of course, we watched her interview people for 25 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that very safe presence that she has, it just is fantastic. I know that I've met a couple people who were interviewed by her. And you've been on her show, actually. Tell us, what was it like when you were on there?
Pretty much exactly what you said, just a welcoming of it. And she had the spirit for women. Like, she never really recognized, like I went with my husband the first time I was interviewed with her, and everything was in my name. Everything was geared towards giving me that status part of it, recognition of it. Her spirit.
We might want to mention that your husband was an NFL player, so maybe a lot of times it was him instead of.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So he was kind of in shock, like down to the hotel room. I mean, he was in shock. He was like, I can't believe. He's like, well, maybe it's in my name. And they was like, well, ma'am, what's your name? And so Joan Jackson. They said, oh, it's in Joan Jackson's name. So. She strategically thought through how I was going to make sure the woman felt good. So that stood out to me. And she asked you a lot of questions. She prepared you. She gets you comfortable before you back in the green room. She lets you use her makeup artist, all the stuff. And she prepares you before you get out on the stage. And you go out on the stage, she makes sure that you're in a comfortable state. Whereas I've been on a lot of different shows, and they just kind of put you out there. You never really see that person till the show begins, and she stays around you the entire time.
So you felt safe?
Felt safe.
Wow.
Yeah, so I like the spirit about her. The interview was awesome, and if I wanted to say someone inspired me in this lifestyle, it's been her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Bridget, how about you? Is there anybody you can think of that might be a personality or someone you might not have met personally, but whose life was very inspirational for you?
I would probably say Mother Teresa. And I think
good one, by the way.
Yes. I think that's probably someone who inspired me, I think almost on a visceral level, because she did go out and help people and be with people whom others never wanted to be with. And she gave them all kinds of love, and she let them know that they meant something and that they were beautiful human beings, no matter what they looked like on the outside. But on the inside, they had so much to offer. So in order to lend yourself to someone like that, like Mother Teresa, I think we need more people like her in this world. So I would say she's the one that definitely from afar, she had a profound influence on me.
So now how interesting is that? We just have two examples, Oprah and Mother Teresa. Certainly very different, but both of them have made major impacts on the world. Actually, Liz and I were talking before we started taping about Mother Teresa. There's a story I heard that I just thought was so great. She was on a plane, and they went to, this is back when you used to get food on a plane, right?
Right.
So they, we're
going way back.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Opposed to
Mother
peanuts.
Teresa's been gone for a while. But they went to serve her, and she said, thank you, no, I'd like that to be donated to the homeless. So, of course, the lady next to her is like, okay, I would like my dinner to be donated to the homeless. Well, nobody was going to eat their dinner then, so like 100 meals from one quiet request. She didn't get up and say, nobody eats, right? She simply,
That's true.
as an example, as a loving example of service. And how many, I mean, good grief, how many people were on that plane have told other people, don't ever eat your dinner, let's go donate it.
Yes.
It's so interesting to me how you have different ways that you can be inspiring. Just quietly in the way you live your life.
That's right.
But I do think Oprah and Mother Teresa have something else really wonderful in common. They seem to see the light in other people.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That oneness, that energetic, I call it that energetic spark of the divine, that really does it, that's in all of us. Because I know there were many times I thought Oprah was interviewing someone, well, she interviewed all kinds of people and still does, of course. But boy, everybody seems to be treated respectfully, just with respect. And what I mean, to be respected and heard, what else would you want?
Right.
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 Wow.
Right.
What about you, Liz? We already got two of the big ones. You got anybody else for us?
I would be saying Mother Teresa the same thing.
There we go.
Because I had the pleasure, I met her twice, but I had the pleasure of meeting
Wow.
her twice. But once at the shrine and once at a parish in Maryland. But I just think that I think we were sharing a little bit before that she was in New York one time. She was walking with several priests, and they'd walk by and they wouldn't even see somebody, and she'd see somebody around the corner, and she'd go out and go talk to them. And people, you know, and she'd see people that nobody ever saw. She'd see people because she respected all life, and what she would do is she'd look for these people.
And she would look for that inner light,
And she would
right?
look for that inner light, and she'd see people that you and I could walk by, and not that we wouldn't want to encounter them, we just wouldn't notice them as much.
Wow.
So I think that she really noticed, and her love for, and she did all these things like, she didn't do it. She did it because she was Catholic, never because somebody else was. So that's what again, back to that no judgment, back to how can I help you.
Oh no, that's an important part too. For those of you that might be a little younger, I really do think we need to point out Mother Teresa did not have Facebook. This is before social media. I mean, it wasn't like somebody's Instagram and, you know, me and Mother Teresa, click, click. It wasn't any of that. And still, look at the influence that she had and still has. Because here, I don't even remember how many years she's been dead, but it's been a long time. Maybe 20 years, because I think she and Princess Diana died the same year, actually, if not
Yes,
the
they
same
did.
time. Here, this is still somebody that is influencing you. And Oprah is still influencing us.
Absolutely.
Still
Yeah.
influencing us as it is. So let me ask you this. We talked about who in your life has influenced you, and who, y'all got to meet yours, yay for you, but who that more of a personality, the life of a personality has influenced you. Who is it that you've influenced in your life, and how? Let's start with you, Liz. Who have you influenced?
I'd have to say my children, and we have 4 girls and 1 boy.
Okay.
And the 4 young women, all of them, I think, hopefully I influenced, but I do feel I did. And I think because we were in the household very similar to what my grandmother did, where they all do service. On Super Bowl Sunday, they used to go out with a group of kids from high school. They went to Catholic high school, and they go down on Super Bowl Sunday and hand out toiletries and mainly clothes to people downtown
Wow.
that were homeless. And then they'd all come back and watch the Super Bowl together. So I think service, but also faith, hope, and charity being love. I mean, I hope that's but I do think it's my children. And then my son, I think he definitely, because I wouldn't tell like a 2-second story, but he was at a bar one time and he watched somebody put something in somebody's drink, a girl's drink, and he waited to the guy, she went in the bathroom and came back out. He put his hand on the top of her drink, turned to the bartender, said, "That guy over there put something on her drink." He ran out, and what it did was he said to her, "You never leave a drink, ever."
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes people would be afraid to do that because you don't know if this guy, you just don't know circumstances. He didn't think twice. So I really think it's my children.
So taking action too.
Taking action, right? That's exactly right.
And what was it about you, besides the example? So you had this life of service, and you still have a life of service, of course. But what? And I'm asking you because I think we often aren't necessarily cognizant, right? We just want our kids to turn out okay and be healthy and happy, right?
Right.
But was there anything that maybe you remembered from your parents or your grandmother that you were like, okay, I'm going to do this, hopefully to influence my children the way I was influenced? Did you ever think of that?
Yeah, I tried to tell them, be careful who you cultivate. You want to be nice to everybody. Be careful who you cultivate, not that you're, again, no judgment.
Right.
And also, there's a time you must stand up for what you believe, and a time that you do need to take action. And I really think that was it. And I think that was it with him, you know, because you don't want to see somebody doing something. I mean, you've got to take action if something's going on. Now, you got to be
Smart.
Smart, exactly. You got to be smart. But I really think it was that. And I think that was because my grandmother moved from this small town. I mean, I had it from my parents too, up to D.C.
Wow.
I mean, shocker. And then she goes, and she works for the Navy. And back then, women didn't, and they were called yeomen, but then they had to change it to yeomanettes because they weren't men. I mean, it's just like hysterical. But I do think that that's really, yeah, you've got to be able to stand up for what you believe and watch out for each other.
Wow. Joan, what about you? Who have you influenced, and what traits or virtues were you using, if you even were conscious of it? What about your mom and your sister? Were you using some of the things that have influenced you on somebody, and who would that be?
I was sitting here thinking about that. I have used some things that my mom, and I spoke about truth, speaking truth, and so I'm gonna say my clients and the women that I've helped through divorce and coached them through life situations and financial situations, businesses. My influence on them was laughter, showing them how to live life and to be excited about life. And I feel like my pain was my passion.
Right.
Letting them know that I have stories. And so I tell them my stories of my pain so they don't feel like they're alone. But that was the truth part of it. But most of my clients come back and say, I cried so much with you, but then you just a breath of fresh air because you make me laugh. Because I would tell them stories, but then I put a little twist in it and make them laugh, so because you could feel the grief and the hurt. So my whole thing is just to, hey, let's enjoy life. Let's think about life, and enjoy life after divorce. Enjoy life after all this pain and hurt, and find things that you love, and and just laugh.
So you were
find things to
honoring
laugh.
the pain,
Mm-hmm.
moving them through it, just like your sister was dragging you up that mountain.
Yes.
But then you reminded them that life is, I think, is supposed to be joyous and happy.
Absolutely.
And certainly divorce, I've been divorced, is one of the darkest times, because it's a loss, right? Just
like a
when
death. Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. It is a loss, and but the person's not in the ground, so you still have to see them, and maybe you're co-parenting, and I mean, there's legal stuff, there's all kinds of things.
Yes.
So it's fascinating to me that you use some of that stay, mentoring, loving influence from your sister and your mom, but you had your own little twist in it.
Absolutely.
That's kind of, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. What about you, Bridge? Who have you influenced and how?
Yeah, I would say my daughters. I've got Maureen, who is 30, and Tori is 29, and 2 grandchildren. I'm going to put them in there, Jack and Evie. Jack is 4 and Evie is 2. Adorable, yes, just precious, precious. And we've talked about how beautiful our grandchildren are and how they inspire us. But for my daughters, I think the way that I tried to inspire them was, there's a saying, the author is unknown, but it's the greatest gift that you can ever give to someone who's left you is to live fully in their place. And so
I like that.
that's how
Beautiful.
I've wanted
Yeah.
to live for my mother. And she was so impactful in my life. So I truly wanted to impact my daughters' lives. So I think I have successfully been able to do that. And one of the things when they were growing up, I would talk to them and say, and they'll tell you, Mom, you would always say, you can never go wrong doing the right thing.
Right.
Always tell the truth. when you tell the truth, you only have to say it once. If you tell a lie, it goes on and on and on, and you never know who you told what to. So just say it once. And so that's always been kind of helpful. And the other thing is your Fab Five. You know, those 5 friends whom you share your life with, they should be people that raise you up and people that make you feel that you're inspired, that you're worthy, that you can do anything. And my mother always let me know that there wasn't anything she felt I couldn't do. And to this day, I don't think there's anything I can't do. If I put my mind to it, I will take one step at a time. And I think we were talking about that earlier, about taking one step, moving forward. Your sister really had a huge impact on your life. Yeah. My sister, Tara, has had an incredible impact on my life also, letting me know that, you know, you are someone of great worth, and you are loved, and you are love. And so Diane also has influenced me. And, you know, one of the things that you've taught me is always bring love into a room. So you wanted to know how I inspire people. As even a manager at work, as a program manager, what I want to do is I want to inspire everyone that works with me. And I want them to know that I think that I think that they can do anything. So it's a really nice place to be. So that's how I feel I've been able to do it. But with my daughters also, I really feel that I've inspired them to be women of their word, and women of compassion, and women who accept others for what they are. So that's been very important to me, and it's evident in their lives, and I see them growing up, and also I see my daughter Maureen utilizing that with her children, and Tori with her niece and nephew. So it's been great.
And isn't that interesting? We've got a theme of truth, non-judgment coming through. I hope one of the things that you're doing is thinking about who's inspired you in your life, and how can you honor, because you all are certainly honoring the people that have loved and inspired you. How do you honor and celebrate them by taking some of that learning into your own life with who you're going to inspire? And certainly, Bridget, I mentioned that Bridget and I have known each other for a long time. I can tell you, we went to graduate school together. There was many a days I'm like, I can't do this. And she's like, yes, we can do it. I'm thinking, no, maybe she's going to do it, but this economics, I'm not sure I'm going to make it through this. But you're just that, come on, we can do this. You can do it. And I'm thinking, who's she talking to? It can't be me. But then I thought, well, maybe I can. Maybe I can do it. That constant support, and it's just so important, isn't it? It really is. I also think sometimes we're influencing people and we don't know it. Do you ever think that? I know that I have seen, even in grocery stores or in organizations or group, I'll see somebody doing a kind act. Now, they don't know me. They don't even know I've seen it. But somehow that's uplifted me.
Yes.
You know, it's uplifted me. I've done, you know, wow, what a lovely thing. Have you ever been in one of the drive-through lines, somebody's paid for your order and you pay for it?
Yes, yes.
Isn't that fun?
Yes,
Right,
yes.
That's just so great.
Yes.
I love that. I also think sometimes we're influential and we don't know it. And after my divorce, and now it's been almost 18 years, my kids, who are now adults, have come back, and especially my daughter, and said, I watched how you got up and you changed things, and you changed what you did, and you were always trying to do things better. Now, I was in a mess. I have to tell you, I was one hot mess. I didn't know that I was consciously doing that, but I did know I had to go on for my kids. And Joan, you must hear that a lot. People who are influenced because they want to be better, do better for someone else. I guess in divorce, often it's the children.
Often it's the children, yes. And I mean, so many women said, I wouldn't even get up out of the bed if it weren't for my kids. And I can speak for myself. I remember being so upset and so just hurting. and I didn't want to get up out of the bed, and so I had to get up out of bed because they had to go to school, and so but you get to the point you don't want them to see you in that stage, and you don't want them to see you because they'll say, "Why are you crying? You know, why are you upset?" And then you think about it, and you're like, "I can't let them see me in this situation. I have to show that everything's going to be okay." And so a lot of women say that to me. They you know, they'll be crying, but they say, "Oh, I can't let my kids see me like this," and that slowly brings them up out of what they, you know, their hurt and the pain.
And I have to say, I've had male clients who've done the same thing.
Absolutely.
Rather it's for your children, rather it's for your business, it's for your parents, it's for the people at work, it's for a cause that you believe in. Sometimes it's really helpful to have something outside of yourself when you're in that sad place, which we all get in from time to time. I mean, that's life, right? But to have something that inspires you to be more, do something different. That's what I'm always telling my clients. See, if you want your life to be different, let's start with you. What are you doing? How are we going to do this different? Let's look at this. So let me ask you now, who are you here to inspire? Liz, who do you want to inspire?
Probably my grandchildren, and I work in insurance, so I want to inspire women to make sure that they have all their finances, a lot of things in order, and they're inspired to make sure they're taking care of themselves. Because if something happens, such as divorce, that they have something for themselves. I mean, that's a big thing I believe you need to know. But certainly my grandchildren, I think, because I always think steps in the journey are the journey. And so I think sometimes like you brought up earlier, we're in the DC area. So, you know, people always think of the goal. A lot of times it's steps in the journey are the journey. And the end never justifies the means. So you want to make sure that you are doing what you should do. And I think with children, my grandchildren, very different today than when we grew up, right? Very different times for children. Like you were saying, the media. I mean, they've got all the social media, all that. So I think it's important. So really it is my grandchildren.
So let me ask you this, because I think this is really important. When you think of your clients and you think of those precious grandchildren, and we're all either grandmothers, we have one grandmother to be, so believe me, before the camera started, we were all on that, right? Do you see yourself being, having the same traits, the same virtues to serve these two people, these two groups?
Somewhat. I think.
I mean, you're maybe not hugging and getting Christmas gifts for these guys, but.
Right. But I do think that, yes, but I do think you need to always show that you care.
Right.
That's the number one thing for both things. You care, and you're giving information to them that you think is going to help them. And I think, so from that standpoint, definitely. I mean, and I do think that it's gratitude. A lot of times it's gratitude, and you teach them gratitude. I think that's, you know, for both, but to take care of themselves too.
Well, because I've always thought that the spirit, you are no more or no less than anyone else. So if you are sacrificing yourself for someone else, now if you've got a small child or sick parent, okay, but I mean in the long term, if you are continually sacrificing and you are harboring resentment,
Right.
you're not serving people with a loving, open heart. And the whole name, the show is Heart-Centered Success. And I did it that way because to me, that gratitude, that love, that compassion, I know that you are very loving and compassionate, and you do care about your clients.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's really apparent talking to you. I mean, you really want these people to be safe and make good decisions. The other thing that I love about you is I always felt that from when we've discussed things, that while you're happy to give them the information, you trust them to do what they need to do.
Right.
You're not going to stand over them and go, you really should do this.
Right.
You're going to give them that
Right, and
let
whether
them
they,
do,
whether
I guess
they
with
do it
kids
with
too.
me or not. And one thing is women, I think we need to look at a pie being bigger versus trying to take it away from each other.
Right.
There's lots of pies.
Yes.
Right.
There's
a
lots
lot-
of pies.
that's right.
There's cakes, there's cookies, there's
That's right,
muffins.
right. And I think
lots.
that because sometimes it's such a competitive nature in, say, this area, that people get stuck in that. And that's
Right.
not what we're supposed to be at all. Love. I mean, love is the
Yeah.
most important thing.
And if we're all the same, I mean, because I think it's the oneness thing is that we are all the same. We're seeing, I think, versions of ourselves.
Yes.
Then what a great way to look at things. Joan, who do you want to influence now? You talked about your clients.
I would say my nieces. I have probably about, I guess about 12. I might have miscounted, but
Okay, well, 12's a lot.
it's a lot
12's a lot.
because they watch me a lot. They're growing up. They're young ladies in their 20s and 30s, and I think when I talk to them, they really listen, and they seen my life. They seen all the, things I've done in life, and I've noticed that they're just checking me out. Like, I want to be like my Aunt Joan.
How great that you're aware of that. Because even though we all have children, sometimes poor mom and dad can say the exact same thing that great Aunt Joan says, but everybody's like, oh, Joan says this. Well, I just said that 5 minutes ago. It doesn't make any difference. Like Bridget was saying, truth is truth, and it comes from different places, and people get it when they're ready for it.
Absolutely.
How wonderful. Do you get to see your nieces very often? Now with social media, you get to see them,
Yes.
I guess, a lot.
And that's where I see them, in social
Yeah.
media. And if I see some on Facebook that I'm like, okay, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to portray or whatever?
Oh, so
but
you
they
help
listen
them
to me.
understand.
They
Good.
listen to me. They have children. Some of them are married, and so they consult with me on certain issues.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. What is it about you? Because they might have other aunts and uncles or important people in their life. What do you think, and certainly with all due respect to everyone else in their life, how are you with those young women that makes them come to you?
I think the curiosity of the way I move about. I mean, I'm a globetrotter.
There you
So they know I done been all over the world. I done met people from all walks of life. They know the type of work I do. And most of the time I'm curious about what they do. One of my nieces I sent through college. She's an engineer now. And so they see that, I have a great interest in them.
So that curious piece, that
I think
to
they're
me,
curious, yeah.
someone who really feels like that person is invested in them, really interested in what's going on. That's a really beautiful presence piece, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And I'm sure they must feel that they are safe with you.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not going to tattle to mama?
Unless it's something that
Yeah.
needs to be tattled,
Right,
yes.
but
yeah.
do you get those, don't tell mom, do you get those calls?
Yeah.
Every once in a while I get a little call
Yeah.
like that too. Okay. And I mean, it's nice for them to feel safe, especially in a family environment.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Great. What about you, Bridge? Who do you want to inspire at this point?
Well, the next person I meet.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And one of the things I think with age and wisdom,
We call it experience here at
experience.
Heart Center.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
we call
that
it
experience that
Yeah.
I have now. Yeah. And one of the things that I've done recently is I'll go to a restaurant and talk to the server and just say, who was the last person that inspired you?
Oh, great.
And it's been interesting to me because I'm trying to find out who is inspiring people today. And I had one waiter and he said, I can't think. And I said, okay, well, this was the appetizer. Maybe by the time you come out with the entree, you'll think of somebody.
Or by dessert for sure.
Yes, for sure. And he still couldn't by the very end. And I thought, well, I'm hoping I could inspire you. So anyway, I truly believe that it's that next person and that we all have this ability, the humanness in all of us is to connect. And if we all can recognize that connection is what it's all about. So I want to connect with people that I meet, and whether I know you or not, or, you were talking about social media, Diane, and one of the things as a life coach is with my clients, they have issues with their young children on that cell phone all the time, and that their children and even themselves, they're not engaged anymore. They're at dinner, and then there's a cell phone, and they're coming home after work, and people are on the cell phone or the iPad or what have you. And so they've kind of given up the here and now, like, well, I'm right here.
The human.
This is the humanness. We're together. And so I've, you know, even in my own life, I've taken my phone and I make sure that I hide it away so that you know that when I'm with you or with you, that doesn't come first,
Right.
that you come first. So those are things that I'd like to inspire other people to say, you know, be with the person you're with, you know, be present, be here right now. So I think we just had New Year's resolutions, right? And this year I said, I don't know. That a resolution is almost coming from a standpoint that I'm not enough or something didn't measure up. And I thought, I don't want to go through the year like that. I'd rather say, what can I do? What's my one word for this year? You know, and so my word was run, you know, and that word meant so much to me. Like, I want to run to those that mean something to me, and I want to run and give love to other people that desperately need it. So, you know, my other resolution was I wanted to talk to each and every one of my nieces and nephews, so I can relate to that. And
How many
and
do you have?
Well, it's 15, and so I was. I wanted to call them individually and talk to them and not text. And so I think that's really important, and that we need to do more and more of that. So that's how I'd like to influence people.
So I love that there's the
Inspire
human
them.
piece, because I think that you're right. The world obviously has changed now. And
Yes.
in a lot of ways, social media is fantastic, by the way, because
Yes.
I connected to my cousin in Texas that I haven't seen in 30 years on Facebook.
Yes.
And we actually were able to arrange a meeting when I went to some workshop. I mean, how cool is that?
That's
Yes.
good.
But I've also talked to him on the phone. And I think that thinking through how do you want to be influencing other people with love, with kindness, all with truth, with what we've talked about today. How do you want to be in the world? To me, that's what it is. And one of the things that seems to me that goes through all of this is being authentic.
Yes. I like that.
Being authentic.
Be yourself.
Your mom, your sister, your grandmother, my dad, that I bet you guys could tell when they weren't being authentic, because I could tell with Dad. I mean, couldn't you? You
Yeah.
can kind of tell. And our kids, our clients can tell with us, right? When we're just, I know with me, if I'm not fully present and I'm thinking 3 steps in advance, I'm not here. I'm missing what's here. Well, how can you help people if you're not there in front of them?
Right.
Whether it's your kids, your clients, or the grandchildren. Oh, the grandchildren. Let me tell you
Yes.
something. That's somebody, I certainly, I love my clients. I'm thrilled with them. I love talking to people here on this show. But, oh my goodness, can we just talk about grandbabies? That to see that little tiny, mine's only a year old, to see that little tiny fresh life, to think that he has all these things ahead of him. Not only do I want to make sure that I can support his parents, that he's safe and happy, but I want the world to be better. I want him to
that's
grow
good.
up in a more loving, compassionate, authentic, kind world.
Right.
That's what is really inspiring to me. And I think that what you said, Bridget, was beautiful. We do it one person at a time, don't we? We do it one person at a time. Rather you're on the phone with them, rather it's somebody that you meet in a restaurant or at the grocery store or in traffic. Yes, in traffic. I actually have been stuck in traffic, looked over and waved at somebody, and it freaked her out, by the way. She's like looking for, like, I don't know what she thought I was going to do, but it was just like, hey, I'm stuck, you're stuck, how is it? And she was like,
Right. And
but she didn't get it.
right.
So, but I didn't stop, which might have freaked her out even more, but then traffic started, so we were okay. But I do think you have to keep being your own authentic, loving self. And just, I think it's nice to have that in your mind. I'd like to be inspiring, because that's one of my words. I would love to be inspiring, because I know that other people have inspired me. But that's not my end goal. I want to be the presence of love. That's my goal. Now, in the time that we have left, I'd love to get any tips from you all that could help our audience. If you're talking to someone who wants to be inspiring for others, for their family, for their friends, for themselves, because sometimes the biggest person that you have to inspire is you. Bridget was talking about resolutions and not resolutions. How many times have you wished that you could inspire yourself to make what you know to be a healthy change? I know I'm in that category. So who's got a tip that we could share with our audience?
Well,
Go ahead.
I always think people just should pour from their God gift, you know, what the gifts that they know that God has given them. I think I have a gift of laughter, where I can make people laugh and feel comfortable in my presence. So it's just that simple. I think the tip is to figure out what is it that your gift, what's your gift,
Be yourself.
Be yourself. And if you have the gift of comfort, of listening, of you know, even if you gave the person a hug, I think the whole thing is being authentic. And once they feel that authenticity in you, then I think it would be, that's the tip. That's the tip for them to know that they can share whatever they are really good at.
I loved what you said, once you figure it out. Because one of the things you need to do is be really comfortable with who you are.
Absolutely.
Right? And non-judgmental towards yourself, because I've always found the people who are not judging others are not judging themselves. When they're judging themselves, that's when they're judging others. Have you all found that to be
Yes.
true?
Yes.
What tip would you give, Bridget?
I would just give people the tip of, like you said, being yourself. I also have that gift, I feel, of laughter, of bringing levity to a room, and I think honoring that within yourself is really great. And once you honor that in yourself, it's so much easier to honor it in other people. So
That's good.
Yeah, I love that. Liz, what would you add?
Well, I think, faith in yourself. I would say laughter too, but also I'd say humor. I mean, because we had 5 kids, 2 sets of twins.
There's a lot to laugh at your house. That's right. Or laugh or cry, right, babe?
Right. And it was like, we weren't an Ulster house. That was not a word
Okay.
you'd ever use for us. But you had to, you have to have faith in yourself. But humor. When something comes up and it's just crazy, for a better way of saying it, you got to go with it and figure it out at the end.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you just got to laugh and think, okay. Because there's a whole lot of things happen in our house. I mean, just, things out of the norm.
Right.
But it's the humor. So you got to be able to laugh at yourself first.
Absolutely
And have humor
first.
in the situation.
That's something that I really believe strongly is that we're here to have fun. And there's a lot of things that happen that are not fun. We all, because we're grandmas and soon to be grandmas, we've had trauma, drama. There, people we love have died. People, we have lost people. We've lost jobs. Our lives have gone in directions sometimes that we did not particularly want them to go. But when you look back, it's always like, oh my gosh, I've always found some of the worst traumas at the time became my greatest blessings.
yes.
And
yes.
when you can go back and go, oh, I did not get that right. I mean, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think that when you're doing your very best, moment by moment, because we make choices every moment, to live from a place of divine love, that divine core, right? I think that even in really sad times, we can find gratitude and something to not make fun of, but to find the joy in it. Do you know what I mean? When my mother died, my brother and sister and I decided we would go to her gravesite on Mother's Day. And we took 3 red roses, 1 for each of us, and then we took a yellow rose for each grandchild. Then, so we had our little thing, just the 3 of us. There were no spouses, just the 3 of us. We went to Mom's grave, and then we went to IHOP, where she used to for 3 hours, ate pancakes and told Mom stories. Remember when Mom did this? I thought she was going to drive me crazy. But it was like honoring and celebrating
Yes.
what in our grief. And it was grief, but we were able to celebrate even in that situation. And I think that's the key, don't? And I think that by doing some of the crazy things, my mom could have had a sitcom. But she inspired us and never even realized it. And that's what I think I want to make sure that you all at home remember too. Your people are always going to notice how you make them feel, what you do. And these ladies have certainly talked about people who were influential with them. Either they knew personally or they observed. And what I heard from you all was there was love, compassion. Not that somebody else is responsible for the way you feel, but that was the energy that was coming from that person. How great is that? So if you have love and compassion, kindness, service, you really care about other people, whether it's your family, your friends, your pets, it doesn't make any difference. We're all on this planet together. Feathered, furried, hooved, whatever it is, right? Scaled, whatever they're doing, we're all the same. I think being loving and kind to everybody, how inspirational is that? Wow. Wow. I really appreciate you guys being here today. I had a good time.
Thanks
Hope you
for
guys
having
did.
us.
Bridget, thank you so much for being here. Where can somebody find out more about you?
They could go to my website, and it's called TrueRoseCoaching.com.
And tell everybody why is Rose in there.
And my maiden name was Rose, and that's after my precious mother.
Isn't that so great?
Yes.
How
Yes.
wonderful. Joan, how can people find out about you, more about what you do?
They also can go to my website, and it's JoanJacksonDivorceCoach.com.
Great. And Liz, and we are also going to have everybody's contact information in the credits. Liz, should they just go there? Is there a website they can go to for
They
you?
can just go to what's in the
Credits?
Yeah.
Great. I hope you guys have been inspired by some of the things that you heard from these women today. Every life is precious, and I hope you spend some time remembering who's influenced you. How did they influence you? What traits, what virtues? Was it kindness? Was it compassion? Was it bravery? Was it courage? People get inspired by all kinds of things. I don't think it's any one is right for everyone. Find out, spend some time, maybe talk to other people in your family. Who was inspiring to you? And then how do you want to take that forward? Hope you had a good time today. I know I did. I want to thank not only my beautiful guests here, I want to thank Tremaine Johnson, who is our producer. He gets everything happen here. I want to thank our crew. I want to thank all the friends and family, everybody who supports us here at Heart Centered Success. I'm your host, Diane Hayworth, and I'll see you next time.